Let's take a quick look at how you might use a custom view to organize your contacts around a specific action. We'll use the fictional example of Bob, a sales rep who works at a landscaping company called Groundskeeper Inc. He sells landscaping services to small property management companies. Because he works primarily with business owners, it's pretty common for his contacts to get busy and forget to respond to his emails. So Bob decides to make a custom view that will help him identify the people he needs to follow up with. First, Bob adds a filter for HubSpot owner and sets it to Me. This ensures that he's focusing on the contacts who are assigned to him. Next, Bob adds a filter for job title. There are three main titles Bob's primary contacts tend to have: CEO, President, or Owner. Bob puts all three of these in the job title filter with "or" in all caps in between. Finally, Bob wants this view to show the people he's trying to make initial contact with, so he adds a filter for lead status and sets it to New. Bob is now seeing all of the CEOs, presidents, and owners who are assigned to him in HubSpot CRM and have a lead status of New. As he makes contact with them, he'll change their lead status to either open or unqualified, depending on how the conversation goes. Now Bob wants to narrow this list down to the contacts he needs to follow up with. There are three additional filters he's going to use to do this: last contacted, next activity date, and number of times contacted. Last contacted is a property that automatically populates with the date a contact most recently had a meeting or was emailed or called. This property can be filtered relative to a specific date, or it can be filtered using more dynamic options, such as last week or last month. Bob wants to follow up with people he hasn't interacted with this month, so he adds a filter for last contacted and sets it to last month. A very similar property is last activity. This works exactly like last contacted, except that it also takes into consideration notes and tasks. Bob could use last activity if he wanted to know the last time he performed any sort of action on a contact record. But in this case, he wants to base his view on the last time he actually interacted with a person, so he's using last contacted. Next, Bob adds a filter for next activity date. This property only populates if the contact has a meeting or task scheduled for the future. Otherwise, it's blank. Bob wants to focus on the people he doesn't already have plans for, so he sets this filter to Is Unknown. This means that the view will only show a contact record if its next activity date is blank. Bob's list is now showing contacts who he hasn't reached out to this month and who he doesn't have anything scheduled with in the future. This is a good follow-up list, but Bob wants to take it one step further by adding a filter for number of times contacted. Number of times contacted automatically updates with the number of times Bob has called, emailed, or met with a contact. Bob understands that some contacts go silent because they've decided not to buy from Groundskeeper Inc. He doesn't want to risk hurting his brand by continuing to reach out to people who don't want to hear from him. So he's decided not to try contact more than 5 times before moving on to someone else. For this follow-up list, Bob doesn't want to include anyone he's already made 5 attempts to contact, so he sets the number of times contacted filter to less than 5. Bob saves this view as Make First Contact and shares it with his team. With the HubSpot owner filter set to Me, each person who uses this view will see only the leads assigned to them. And now Bob has a list of new leads he needs to follow up with. Nice going, Bob! In the next video, we'll walk through the details of organizing your contacts in HubSpot CRM.